Hello and welcome to the Blockchain Startup Show. I'm Pooja Jain. The global blockchain gaming market is expected to touch $50 billion by 2025, in large part due to Web 3.0. Now, Web 3.0, of course, refers to the next generation of the web, in which users will be interconnected via a decentralized network and have access to their own data. And Web 3.0 is dramatically transforming the gaming sector, giving birth to new business models while empowering users with play and earn capabilities, decentralized ownership, and greater control overall. Today, we're in conversation with the founder of one of India's first Web 3.0 cricket strategy games, Cricinshots. And to shed more light on how the company is shaping the future of Web 3.0 and gaming infrastructure at large, I'm joined by Harsh Savergaonkar, co-founder of Vega Labs, the brainchild behind Cricinshots. Harsh, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. And now, for sake of some context setting and for the benefit of our viewers, can you tell us about your foray into Web 3.0?
So me and my co-founder, we have been gamers for our life and we love gaming, building stuff, and we got into gaming as well. So we were already building games when this wave of Web3 started coming out, and we knew blockchain and all of that a little bit, but we had never really gone into the depth. But when things started sort of, coming into picture that what all the blockchain can do, we were very excited and we decided to check it out. And being gamers, we have, enjoyed games where there's a shared economy. So I like to give an example. So for example, Age of Empires, let's say. In that game, I always liked to be a resource collector. I never liked to attack or defend. I used to collect resources and give it to my friends. They used to go and attack and collect and defend.
Yeah.
So that was like a shared economy. Or even we were already building Cricinshots, right? A cricket strategy game. And then we imagined, okay, so if shared economy can exist in such games, can it exist in the game that we are building in? And then we thought of how cricket works in the real world. So in the real world, there are not just batters and bowlers, right? There are also people who own stadiums. There are people who own IP rights. There are reporters. There are media folks. There's so many roles you can play. So we were really excited by this concept, and we wanted to bring that ability inside our game, where people could play different roles. And rather than playing in just a silo as a single person economy, we wanted to build a multiplayer economy. And that is what Web3 could do for us. And that is how we decided to enter into Web3. So another example, I guess most people would understand is, let's say, Clash of Clans. In Clash of Clans, very popular game, you play as a single person economy. So you get some gold, you keep on going ahead. But the masses, if everyone is, let's say, buying a golem today or attacking with this, it doesn't really change anything. So it's not a common shared economy. So having a common shared economy gives people more roles, and it's even more exciting to be there at the right time, and it's more rewarding as well. So that is why we wanted to, get into Web3.
Well, keeping all of that in mind, you obviously conceptualized Cricinshots. So tell us more about the game's broader mission and vision.
Right. So, I mean, simply put, the broader mission for the game is we want billions of cricket fans out there play a cricket game that they can play for a lifetime. So a trend that we have observed is the cricket games before us have a very low shelf life. They only sort of are active and for like 6 months to a year. And then the companies have to rebuild the game again with a new title, new version for drawing people back in. But at the same time, every new cricket game that comes out, it has millions of installs and millions of players. But then they drop down. So there's always this unmet need that people try to satisfy, but there's nothing that sort of stays on for a broader time. So we want to be the first cricket game that people can play for 10, 15, 20 years, just like the popular games like Clash Royale, Clash of Clans, etc., but for cricket. So that's our broader mission, simply put. And another reason why we started this was, imagine that you're watching a live cricket match. Okay, so you're watching a match, a very important match. Virat Kohli is on strike, Dhoni is on non-strike, and 10 runs to win, and only 3 balls. It's a very exciting moment for you as a viewer. And someone bowls, and then Virat Kohli just defends. And as a viewer, you're very irritated. You're like, why are you defending, dude? Just 3 balls remaining, hit, whatever happens, just hit. But there's nothing you can do about it, right? So we wanted to play on this very exciting emotion. We wanted to put people in the shoes of a team coach who can stand on the sidelines and instruct the players what to do. And then we dug deeper into the market. We played every possible cricket game. We talked to tons of users playing these cricket games. And then we realized that there is no cricket game that is genuinely strategy and where you can genuinely take control as the team coach. So we want to give that feeling to the players as well and satisfy the backseat driver in the cricket fans out there.
Sure.
Yeah,
Well, Harsh, you're absolutely right, because there aren't a lot of cricket strategy games available in the market. To
right,
my understanding, we have pure play, first person cricket games, and
right,
more recently, fantasy cricket games.
right.
So, how was Cricinshots initially conceptualized, and what was the underlying thinking behind making it a differentiator in the marketplace?
So, I mean, to begin with, it sort of goes back to the feeling that I was talking about, being an audience or being a viewer in cricket and being able to tell your team what to do or, how to play. So that was the core feeling. So for when we knew that this is the feeling we want to give to our audience, we decided to play all the cricket games out there and we realized, okay, this doesn't really exist. And then we started seeing at the genre map of every game. So to simply put, every new genre that comes out, it has multiple subgenres in it. You can have solo player games, casual games, strategy, cooperative, PvP. And normally what happens is when a new genre is launched in the market, it mostly starts with a solo casual game. Then if that game works well and if the market is responding, then someone comes into that space and builds a game a little more intrinsic. So for example, a
Sure.
cooperative game or a PvP game. So the genre starts growing like that. So we looked at different sports. So for example, in basketball, football, the whole map of these subgenres is completely filled. There are all kinds of games out there, be it strategy, be it co-op, be it PvP. But in cricket, there's still a lot of white space in the deeper area of the game genre of cricket in itself. So that white space was really intriguing to us. And we were like, okay, why does this white space even exist? Because there
Right.
already are so many cricket fans out there. So why is that? So we decided to dig a little deeper. As I said, we talked to a lot of users and we figured out like three core problems. So the first problem was that there is insufficient depth in these cricket games. So what I mean by that is beyond swiping on your screen and hitting a bat, the ball with a bat, there's not much you can do as a gamer. There's no
Sure.
secondary, tertiary loops. That is, there's not a lot of things for you to do in the background or grind for. Then second thing we realize is that there are a lot of strategy games that are touting themselves as strategy, but they're still more chance based. I mean, at the end of the day, people can figure it out. It's not a strategy game if you know it's just luck based. So
Right.
I mean, that is why we wanted to build something that is actually strategy. And lastly, we wanted to give it a longevity. So, as I said, what we figured is that most cricket games till now had a very short shelf life. Then we were wondering, why is that? I mean, if cricket is such a popular sport, why can't there be a game which people are playing even 10 years down the line, where there is more stuff for them to do even 10 years down the line? So that is what sort of got us into building this. But I mean, again, we have launched multiple iterations of the game. So this is like the latest iteration with all of these learnings.
Well, as you continue to iterate, can you tell us more about the traction that you've received in the marketplace?
Yep, definitely. I mean, I just want to cover a small point that we launched our fourth version of the game in the beginning of June. So till now, we've launched four versions. We have built over 14 gameplays. And each time, the reason why we went through so many iterations was to make sure that the market is liking what we are building. So I'm happy to share that our current version is working very well, and this is the one we're taking forward. So after launching in the first week of June, we have players from over 54 countries playing the game, and we have an average session time of users is over 2 hours per user. 1000 plus hours of game was played in the last 7 days itself, and over 7 lakh runs were scored in the last 7 days. Then over 7,000 wickets were taken in the last 7 days. So these are some cricket
Phenomenal.
stats to track, which is just a little fun. And over 30,000 games, multiplayer games are played this month. So, and we are seeing traction from 54 different countries. So it's very exciting. We have not opened up the game for like the whole world yet. We are still launching it phase by phase to get ready at a global level, and then we'll launch first quarter 2024.
Well, Harsh, I'd like your views on Web 3.0 gaming in the context of how it will differentiate itself from the Web 2.0 gaming ecosphere and atmosphere. What are the major distinguishing factors going to be?
Right. So, I mean, last year, whenever anyone answered this question, they had to say things like ownership or they had to say things like, play and earn. But
Right.
we went through that. We also, as builders and as users, went through that cycle. And we realized that at the end of the day, users don't really care, most of them at least, if they own something on a blockchain or not, or if they're earning much from the game or not. For users, the core mission is still to have fun when they're playing a game. So I believe that the most important part is that even before you say, are you Web3 or Web2, the game needs to be super fun. And the differentiator is where we believe is the economy of the game. So rather than it being play and earn or it being ownership, etc., it's about building in a shared economy.
Well, Harsh, let me ask you this. What does massive success look like, for Cricinshots? What are the metrics that matter to you the most?
So massive success for us looks like that everyone, all cricket fans out there are playing Cricinshots for years to come, or I would say forever. And that is massive success for us. And the main metrics I would say is retention and the number of years people are still excited to play the game for. So our core focus is that even after 4 years, there still needs to be more content for people to unlock and still new things for a person to do, which is a little tricky in sports-based games. And that is why this space has still been in the white space or empty for cricket. So like at the core, our mission is that the billions of cricket fans out there should be able to put themselves in the shoes of a cricket coach and fulfill their emotion of instructing players of how to play and do it for years to come.
It's time for a short break, but on the other side, our conversation with Cricinshots continues. So don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Blockchain Startup Show. This week, we're in conversation with the founder of one of India's first Web 3.0 cricket strategy games, Cricinshots. Now, Harsh, Cricinshots is, of course, a mobile-first game.
Right.
What sort of advantages does it have being a mobile-first game as compared to, say, being limited to strictly a console or PC?
Right. I mean, the simplest advantages, obviously, or the most obvious ones, is that consoles are extremely costly. Most people don't buy them. Most people don't have them. But being mobile game, it has a few advantages. Like we can dominate the Indian market, for example, because according to stats, 1 in 5 of every cricket game not cricket, sorry, 1 in 5 of any game downloaded is from India. So most Indian gamers, they download it on mobile. Then there are over 22 billion mobile gamers in the world, out of which 450 million plus are from India itself. So these are big numbers which you are ignoring if you're just going after consoles. Secondly, what we believe is that gaming can't just be restricted to a part of your timetable. Like if I want to play a console, I have to set aside those 2-3 hours for myself. But what if I'm on the bus, or what if I am just riding somewhere? I'm busy, but I have 10 minutes window but before my next meeting. Then why can't I enjoy a fun game while at it? So that is why we wanted to be mobile first. And secondly, it's also a little easier to be mobile first because you can push out better updates. You can notify and pull back your users at any given time. You can sync it with real world things. So let's say suddenly someone hits a big six and the match changes in real life. We can somehow bring something out in the game in the moment itself, and we can notify all of our users by sending a notification, which can't happen on consoles. So a lot of these reasons why we wanted to be mobile first. And obviously, we also wanted to be free to play rather than people having to purchase the game to play.
Sure. Well, Harsh, given that cricket is loved and cherished, across the globe, I'm curious to understand which geographies have you seen the most player traction from?
So right now, we have the most player traction from countries like India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Indonesia. These are our 4 top countries. But apart from this, we have users from over 54 countries, including Syria or including France. So a lot of non-cricketing nations are coming on board as well. I would guess that it's mostly cricket fans who have, immigrated to that country. Or we've also seen a lot of, people who are not traditionally from cricket-loving countries get into cricket again because of all of the hype around events like IPL or cricket is sort of being taken to a global level now. So that is why.
Well, a bit of a macro question for you now. What role do you see India playing in the larger Web 3.0 gaming landscape? How India-centric will the solutions and technologies that we see next reflect?
I mean, India has a lot of roles to play. I mean, I'll start with the most obvious one, our population. I mean, at the end of the day, if India adopts something, that is sure shot going to be a success because there's massive number of people who are suddenly going to adopt something. So tomorrow, if all Indians somehow get onboarded to, let's say, Web3 and everyone starts paying in crypto, then the world can't just be silent. They have to build solutions around it. So we see Cricinshots or cricket in general to be the tool that makes Web3 mainstream in India. We see it being something that for which people will buy their first crypto, or for which people will get their first crypto wallet. So I believe that adoption around the globe can be led by India because of its population. Then secondly, what we believe, or I personally believe, is that the tech front, definitely India is always building something or the other, and there are so many young people in India building new technologies. So I believe that the exposure that Indians have been getting, or sort of the fire that people have to compete across the world from India, they are building so many new cool technologies and a lot of new stuff. So that is definitely going to put India on the map in Web3, because I believe for a country to sort of be in the forefront, it somehow needs to ride the wave. And unfortunately
Right.
for India, when most technology revolutions were happening, we were in our separate battles at that point as a country. So we couldn't really ride the wave. But right now, since Web3 is just starting out and it's like common ground or clean slate for the whole world, we can easily emerge as one of the top countries building this. And of course, there's a lot of like personally for us, we want to build games across. We want to take the Indian ethos, or we want to take India to the world in form of gaming. So one of the things that we want to do is take different Indian concepts and turn them into global games. So I think that is another way for the world to discover India through Web3 and gaming.
Right. And Harsh, any words of wisdom that you'd like to share with gaming entrepreneurs out there that are perhaps tuning in and looking to start a Web 3.0 company of their own?
Right. So I mean, the simplest thing is that you need to start a gaming company. You shouldn't start a Web2 gaming company or a Web3 gaming company, because the end of the day, the goal is to build fun games which the people would love to play. So that should be your core idea. And then when you build a particular game, that is when you use technologies such as the blockchain tech or some other tech to enhance it, rather than you being just a Web3 company at a core. You need to be a gaming company at a core, because you're not a
Right.
Web3 company at the end of the day, as a gaming company. I mean. And secondly, don't just jump into Web3 because of things like ownership or play and earn, because it's still very hard and it's still not really there yet in terms of it working out. But what you should jump into Web3 gaming for is the open economy, the service economy model, or building different tokenomics models. Because at the end of the day, if you're building on Web3 and you're building a game in Web3, it's literally like building an economy for a small country, because you have to have different currencies. You have to think of different events where someone might just take all of your currency and pour it somewhere else, or take it all out. So you need to have a customs office. You need to have officers checking if people are taking the currency out or if people are bringing fake currency in, or you need to make sure things are not crashing, supply demand is being met. So it's literally like building a country's economy, which is extremely fun. So you should definitely think of that or any other use cases that you think of as the reason to build in Web3. Interoperability is one of those. So that is something we are bullish on.
So, Harsh, what are your future plans with Cricinshots, and when can users start availing the game?
So right now we have done a sort of a small demo test for our test group, and every month we are going to open up slots for newer users to come in and play. We will be launching the game globally in first quarter of 2024. But right now, if you're a user, we have new slots opening up this month. So you can just go to Play Store or Test Flight and download Cricinshots, or you can go to our website, cricinshots.com, and try the game out. We are always open to feedback, and we want to build a cricket game that billions of cricket fans have somehow, played a role in. So always happy to incorporate feedback. So you can give it a try.
And perhaps by way of closing comments, what are some of the most commonly made mistakes that gaming entrepreneurs, face, and how might you suggest that they circumvent those mistakes, in the future?
Right. So, I mean, I am going to just talk about the mistakes I made. So, I guess most of them were pretty common. One of those biggest mistakes is not launching fast. So, one of the biggest, feeling that you have is that when you're launching a game, it needs to be, there. It needs to satisfy the audience in every possible way. But the problem is, it's just not possible, because at the same time you have to work on the art, you have to work on game mechanics, game design, the coding, and a lot of things to do in a game. So if you ever try to do that, you never know if you will succeed or fail, because
Right.
we launched Cricinshots 4 times. So the first 2 times we built it entirely and we launched it. So whatever feedback we got was after that, so we couldn't really incorporate most of it. We just had to restart. So that made us waste a lot, like that wasted a lot of our time, that wasted a lot of our resources. So now what we are doing is, now we are launching and taking feedback and actively building. And honestly, this is the most common advice given to everyone, but when you're actually building, it's very hard to implement it. I mean, look
Right.
at startup podcast, everyone's saying that you should build in public, you should launch fast. But when you're building, it's very hard when you're actually doing it. So always keep it in mind that whenever you launch, you're always going to be dissatisfied with the level of the product. You're always going to feel like it could have been more, but don't wait for that day. Just launch. That way you'll only, get better at it. So I think that is one. Then second thought that I have for gaming founders is that team is very crucial, and you need to have a team that is more motivated as gamers than just motivated for building something, because gaming just makes everything 10x tougher than building a any other tech product. And gaming is normally at the forefront of technology. So if any new tech comes in, you have to use it, or you have to use it so that the graphics is better, for example, the user experience is better. So at the end of the day, when it is such a long process of 2-3 years to build just one game, the team needs to be super motivated in the gaming. Otherwise, it's very hard to retain a team over time. So I guess that is a second mistake or second thing that we learned a little late. We were instead just focusing on skills rather than their passion towards gaming. So these are two main things, I guess.
Well, Harsh, you've made great strides of progress. We look forward to all that lies ahead with Cricinshots, and thank you for taking the time to speak with us. Wish you all the very best.
Thank you so much for having me.
With that, this episode of the Blockchain Startup Show comes to a close. We trust you found the insights shared of value. Thanks for watching.